So I usually encourage classes, especially younger classes, to dance if they want to in that little countdown, and I didn't today. I'm kind of remiss, but Miss Michael's class, Abaca West, just went absolutely insane during that countdown. So thank you. You guys rock. That was amazing. Okay, professionalism back on. My name is Jesse, everyone. Welcome to another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. We've got some really amazing, familiar faces today. We've got some classes that joined earlier today, so welcome back. And some new faces in the crowd as well. So if you are new to us, we're all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. As my little intro bit says, my little byline down there somewhere, it is World Oceans Week. So most of our programs, every single one but this one, are all about oceans. It's been a really exciting celebration to start the day. We've got 20 incredible programs. You can check all that out on our website as well. But we're going back to one of our favorite groups of all time. In fact, don't tell the other groups. This might be my actual favorite group of all time. We have partnered with them for, I think, 20 broadcasts this year. We've had everything from birds to owls, macaws, otters, sloths, and more. They are the Toucan Rescue Ranch. Of course, we got over 650 kids signed up for today's program. And the Rescue Ranch is all about rescuing, rehabilitating, re-releasing injured wildlife, and serving as a hub for educating the public about these amazing species that live in one of the most biodiverse countries on planet Earth. I want to do a special shout out to Joe, hosted with you guys not too long ago as well. We recently had a class raise $1,185 for the Toucan Rescue Ranch after a program, which is by far the most anyone has ever donated to one of our education partners. So huge thank you to our class, Mr. Ossick's class. And without further ado, you guys aren't here for me. You're here for baby sloths and sloths in general. So we are going to head to Steph at the Toucan Rescue Ranch, the education coordinator there, and she is going to blow our minds with a tour of their amazing facility. So I've got my popcorn. I'm ready to go on a little adventure and take us away. Thanks so much again, Steph.
Thank you, Jesse. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to have you here learning a little bit about sloths. I'm here with a mural of Calling, this way. Calling was one of the sloths that we rewilded last year, who was successfully rewilded. So I just wanted to show you that little artwork and tell you that we are very excited to show you our program to be able to rescue, rehabilitate, and rewild sloths back into the wild. So we're going to learn a lot about sloths today, and we're going to start off around here checking out some of our permanent residents. Then we're going to go through the stages of our rewilding program so you guys can understand how it is that we're able to make a baby sloth end up back into the wild. So I'm going to change the view of my camera so you can have a better look. And here we have the part where we keep our permanent residents. We have right now 6 permanent residents, and we are very proud to tell you that from hundreds of sloths that we have received from 2017, these are our only permanent resident sloths. But let's start off talking a little bit about sloths in general. These are really fascinating animals. This one right here is Stevie. Stevie is one of the orphans that went through our Saving Sloths Together program, and sadly she was unable to graduate. She failed, sadly, Sloth College, and I will explain why in a bit. But first off, let's talk then about some general sloth information. You can see Stevie is busy scratching a little bit. That's something that sloths often do. Now you will see just with what ease Stevie is able to hang from the branches, scratching herself while doing it. And part of the reason is that sloths are animals that are completely adapted to life in the trees. This is a 2-finger sloth. You'll often hear them called two-toed and three-toed sloths. I do not like that name. I think that whoever called sloths that way had never seen a 2-toed sloth, because if you check out the amount of toes on Stevie's feet, you will see that she has 3 toes, not 2. What she does have is 2 little claws on the front. Here we have a good, nice view of the claws on the hind limbs and the front limbs. So I don't like calling them two-toed and three-toed sloths. I like calling them 2-finger and 3-finger sloths. And these guys have all these amazing adaptations to be able to live on the trees. So one of the things that sloths have is that they're pretty light for an animal this big. So for a two-finger sloth, a good average weight could be from 8 to 10 pounds. So that's actually not a lot for the mass that you actually see. They have less muscle density than other mammals the same size. And that is for them to allow them to be able to hang for long periods of time without getting exhausted. As you can see, of course, they have these little bare pads of skin that she's using right now to grab her carrots and be able to munch away. And that is excellent for getting a good grip of the branches. Sloths are also crazy strong, guys. When we get sloths that come into our clinic, sometimes they're burned, sometimes they were attacked by dogs. They come for many different reasons. But it turns out that sometimes we need to do different procedures on them, maybe clean a wound, maybe just do some general checkups. And we do not put them, put anesthesia. We don't put them to sleep every time we need to work on them. So sometimes adult sloths that come, we have to have at least 4 people with a big, adult aggressive sloths to be able to perform different procedures on them without putting them to sleep or putting anesthesia on them. So an adult sloth can have the equivalent adult strength of 5 people. So it's crazy just how strong they are. And if you have that idea in your mind that sloths are cute and fussy and they're not aggressive, well, if you see those claws can be very dangerous. And as Stevie is eating, you'll see that she has some pretty significant teeth that look like fangs, or the equivalent of canine teeth. They're caniform teeth. And if a sloth feels threatened, they can throw those huge claws at whatever is threatening them. They'll pull that animal in with that incredible strength that they use to stay hanging from the trees, and then they will bite you. Two-finger sloths have those big caniform teeth. Three-finger sloths don't have them. We have a couple of three-finger sloths, and we'll go check them out in a bit if they are awake. Since I'm mentioning the fact that Stevie is awake right now, well, it turns out that two-finger sloths are actually more nocturnal than diurnal. So we're actually in a bit of a lucky streak with Stevie because she got hungry. But most of our sloths here are actually napping right now. Some people used to believe that sloths could sleep 18 to 20 hours in a 24-hour period. But we now know that is not true. For example, Stevie over there is taking a little nap. Most of our sloths are actually napping right now. So we're pretty lucky that Stevie decided to eat. She got a little hungry. Now, final interesting adaptation I was going to mention about how sloths are able to live comfortably in the trees. If you think about dogs and cats, their hair grows from the back towards their belly. But sloths, that is not the case. If you check out their hair, it actually grows in the direction from the belly towards their back, which is pretty interesting. And why is that helpful? Because sloths are constantly in the position Stevie is in right now. And if they get wet, and trust me, in tropical rainforest, that happens pretty often, she'll be able to drip dry quicker than if her hair grew in the opposite direction. So since Stevie is eating, I'd love to talk a little bit about their diet. So two-finger sloths have a diet of especially leaves. All of sloths are in a suborder called Folivora, in reference to the fact that 90% of their diet, and in the case of three-finger sloth, that number is even higher. It's like 98% of their diet is pretty much leaves. Of course, Stevie is an animal that is in captivity, and therefore we can complement his diet with other things. Stevie cannot return back into the wild, so we don't have to worry about her not eating leaves. So we give her these are green beans and carrots. They're cooked so that they'll be easier to digest. And this way we make sure that all her dietary requirements are met. However, we also give them little treats like sometimes leaves, and we diversify their diet with leaves. You'll see in her enclosure there are leaves. Now, since we're talking about diet, it turns out that sloths have a very slow metabolism. We often think about sloths of being, very slow, very lazy. And it's not that they're slow, it's that their strategy to survive is pretty much just not using energy if they don't need to. Sloths are one of Costa Rica's national symbols, and the reason is that we want to be more like the sloth. We want to make sure that we only use the energy that we need to use, and in that way, the sloths are the best example of efficient energy use. Because if a sloth doesn't need to move, they won't move, and that's why quite often in the wild, if they're not eating, if they don't need to be going anywhere, they're going to just stay in one place. And this way they save energy, but they save energy in many ways. Also through digestion. Sloths take a very long time to digest a meal. They go to the bathroom pretty much once a week in the wild, and they can get pretty bloated. In the case of our babies, that can be a pretty cute sight. And I'd love to continue showing you the babies so you can have a better idea of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to leave Stevie for a moment so you can also check out our babies. Bye, Stevie. Oh, and just to let you know, Stevie failed Sloth University because sadly she wasn't very comfortable in the trees. She wasn't gaining weight, and she was brought in back to our care. We monitored the sloths that rewild for like 6 months, and she wasn't gaining weight. She looked like a tiny sloth, and therefore we decided to bring her back in. And as soon as she would return to our care, well, she would start eating again. So eventually we decided she was better off with us. So guys, here, this is what we call Sloth Elementary. So where Stevie was, that is a place where we keep our permanent residents, sloths that cannot return to the wild. But this is the School of Sloths, Sloths Elementary. So in this stage, we have sloths that are from 3 to 6 months that are here for different reasons. For example, over here we have Noodle. Noodle was a case of a sloth who was found here in San Isidro with holding onto her dead mom who was attacked by a dog. So he is in process of rehabilitation. We have some of the orphans who have managed to pass different stages for their release. We have, oh wait, no, this is Noodle, sorry. Check out this cute face. So this is Noodle, he's the one I was talking about. These are Liana and Pax, who are also started napping. And I brought a little treat for my friends to see if they want to have something different as a meal. I'm gonna put this little flower to see if anyone feels like having a little snack. But over here, I actually have, let's see, one of our other sloths. I was looking for Spike. Where is Spike? Do you know where is Spike? Oh, okay. But anyway, guys. Oh, this is Liana. Thank you, Liana. I'm sorry. So Spike must be in that ball of sloths. So getting back to the digestion part, guys, as I was telling you, sloths can get pretty bloated as they only go to the bathroom once a week. And when their metabolism is low, this can actually happen once every 2 weeks. So again, if it's one of these babies, it can be pretty cute. They look like a ball of fur. And the cool thing about sloths is that when they go to the bathroom, they release about 30% of their body weight in one go. Another interesting thing is that I was telling you, sloths are very well adapted to live in trees. And they do almost everything in the trees. They eat in the trees, they reproduce, they have their babies there, they sleep on the trees. But one of the things they do not do in the trees is go to the bathroom. Sloths will actually go down to the base of the tree to be able to pee and poo. They don't even fart from the trees. It's something that's pretty crazy. And they can release up to 30% of their body weight in one go, which is quite extraordinary. So let me see if maybe Liana feels like having a little flower, because these guys were unimpressed by that flower. And it seems that Liana is a little bit hungry. So let's see if she feels like going for this flower. I'm going to leave it over here to see if that tempts her. Ooh, Liana is on the go. Here you can see just how fast the sloth can be when they feel like being fast. Hey, Liana, did you want the little flower? It's right here. Right here, my friend. Let's see if she's going for it. Yes, I think she might go for the flower. Now, something important to bear in mind is that sloths have horrible eyesight. They cannot see very well. They actually cannot see in all the colors that we see. So she smelled the flower. She's like, where is the flower? But she cannot really see it. Come on, girl. Smell, smell. Use that cute little nose of yours to find that flower. Hey, what are you doing? Liana, no. Look for the flower. You can do it yourself. We try when the sloths are at this stage for them to be as independent as possible. Like I could very well give her the flower, but I want her to look for it. I want her to work for it. And I don't want her to get used to being handed things, because in the wild, and that is the main purpose of our program, she is not going to have anyone handing her flowers or any of those such things. What are you doing, Liana? So guys, talking digestion, something very peculiar about sloths is that sloths actually need to sunbath. That is something that sloths in the wild will do pretty much every day in order for their metabolism to be quicker. I mentioned before that sometimes they will spend up to 2 weeks without going to the bathroom, and usually that's because their metabolism is running pretty slow. Two-finger sloths are more often found in cold areas like where we are right now. And part of the reason is that their metabolism is a little bit quicker. They're able to withstand colder temperatures better than two-finger sloths, who can be found in higher altitudes. I'm sorry, three-finger sloths can be found in high altitudes, but not as often as three-finger sloths. And wow, Liana, what are you doing? That's some weird behavior for a baby sloth. Come on, right here. You can do it. Work for it. Don't be so lazy. And, you know, that's part of our struggle because they're very cute and I'd love to help her, but I also want her to try to be independent and not get used to just me handing her everything. Guys, as I was mentioning, sloths' digestion can be also influenced by how quick their metabolism is. So sunbathing can be important for the sloths to be able to go to the bathroom. When sloths go to the bottom of the trees to release themselves, these babies actually do a little dance. And pooping our sloths, yeah, I'm saying pooping, can be quite challenging because in the wild, sloths are going to go to the bathroom to a certain extent, thanks to their mothers. When their mothers go and release themselves, they're going to, what are you doing, Liana? Guys, it seems Liana really likes you. What are you doing? There's a flower right there. It seems that part of what has made sloths go to the bathroom on the ground, is simply that this is something that is taught to them from their mothers to the baby. So smelling the poop and the pee is something that will make the sloths want to go. So when our sloths are having a hard time going to the bathroom, even though they're pretty bloated, well, it turns out that part of what we are going to do is take some pee, some poo out of the other sloths and have them smell it to try to allow for them to release themselves. Wow, really excited to have you here in the show, Liana, and seems to be more enthusiastic about the camera than the flower.
Liana's our new star. I don't know what's going on. This is the most enthusiastic sloth of all time.
It is, right? I'd never seen such a reaction to a crowd. Liana, come on, continue being a sloth. Jesse, just checking with the time.
Oh,
how much time do we have?
Mark, we're doing great. If you got a few more points to share with us, great.
Absolutely.
Dive in with our super excited classes.
Absolutely, great, amazing. So, guys, I wanted to also talk a little bit about the program itself. You know, what it implies in terms of the care that we give. Oh, finally, Liana, I knew you wanted the flower. So, what it implies to have a baby sloth in our care, because sloths, of course, are mammals, and all mammals pretty much drink milk. So of course, sometimes the babies will come very, very young. I'd love for us to go very quickly to the nursery in a moment, so you guys can check out the youngest babies that we have over here. I'll go very quickly in just a sec. But it turns out that when baby sloths are at this stage, they still need to receive milk. So when they come very, very young in the nursery, they're going to go check out. Depending on the age, we need to feed them goat's milk with Pedialyte. That's a magic formula. Depending on the age, every 4 hours around the clock. So we need to have nurses here taking care of the babies even at night. Our founder, Leslie, used to do this all by herself for a very long time. And now we have nurses that help her out. But it turns out it can be an exhausting job. At this stage in elementary, part of what we're going to do is that we're going to space out the feedings so that little by little, when they hit the 6-month mark, they're going to start to get weaned off of milk so that they can eat exclusively leaves, flowers. In the case of it's a three-finger sloth, then it would be exclusively leaves. So independence and getting detached more and more from humans is very important. And we have a lot of sloths over here. And as I mentioned before, we have a whole ball of sloths. So Noodle packs. Noodle is that sloth. I thought it was the other one. Noodle is that sloth who's actually from here, from San Isidro. And at this stage, of course, they miss their mothers. So the fact that we have several sloths together allow for each other to give themselves company instead of, holding them, which wouldn't be good. We want our sloths to remain aggressive and wild, so that at the end of the program, they will be able to return back into the wild. Now, I'd love to go very quickly to check out the sloths in the nursery. So you can see some of the youngest babies that we have. And most of the sloths that are in this area, so they're permanent residents, except for 2 exceptions, which are Georgie over there and Milo over there, who are the oldest sloths that we have. They came here before 2017, before the program Saving Sloths Together. We have 3 sloths that flunked Sloth College. So some were because, like in the case of the sloth that I showed you, Stevie, he didn't seem to adapt very well to the trees. Sometimes there was cases like Helga, who would spend long periods of time on the ground. So a sloth is secure on the trees. They can even have microalgae that makes them look green. So on the trees, they are away from the predators that are on the ground, like jaguars, like pumas, and they need to stay up there. So a sloth that goes down from the trees, that is a way to get kicked out of Sloth College. So guys, here we have our nursery. Here we have some of the youngest sloths that have come to the Toucan Rescue Ranch. We have some cute little babies over here. Most of them are a month or more old. Actually, our youngest sloth right here is Gonzo. Check out this cutie. So Gonzo is just about a month old. And at this time, guys, we need to give them around-the-clock care. So this way, they're very close to the caregivers. We actually have 2 three-finger sloths over here. But I want to take advantage of the fact that Giselle here is actually feeding one of our babies. So who do we have here, Giselle? ¿Quién tenemos aquí? Ru. Okay. So Ru is actually in his feeding time. And as I was mentioning, since these are mammals, guys, they need to have goat's milk with Pedialyte. So since they don't have their mums, what we do is that we use this magical nipple that will allow for them to very, very slowly get that milk. And something that we need to be very careful about is not giving the milk too quickly. You'll see just how slowly Giselle is passing the milk, very, very slowly, so that the baby will have enough time to take the milk in. So it is quite a delicate process. And happily, we are some of the experts here at raising baby sloths. And of course, a part of the job of the caregivers is also, making sure that they're developing well, that they are going to the bathroom appropriately. And even though they are eating milk, you'll see that in the structure, we have leaves. And this is like a little baby jungle gym, where if they also want to be with each other, they can also interact. And because these are younger babies, of course, this is also very important so that they feel that they also have contact with other sloths. Now, our three-finger sloths are napping right now, but I'd love to show you and mention very quickly Robin's story. So Robin is a three-finger sloth who actually has very limited mobility in his hind limbs. So he is going through physical therapy. And we already had a case of success. Landon, one of the babies in elementary, went through therapy with lasers, believe it or not. And he actually passed from not being able to move his back limbs. He had a problem with proprioception. He didn't really know where his hands were in relationship to his body. But through physical therapy, he has now gone on to the next stage of Sloth Elementary. So, Robin couldn't climb at all. And lately, we have been seeing an improvement. Here you can see the little claws, in this case, in the front. They have 3 fingers. And as I mentioned before, these sloths only eat leaves and only certain types of leaves. And this is a leaf of one of the plants that they like eating, guaruma leaves, which is very important for their development. And these are the mammals with the slowest metabolic rate of any mammal in the world. And sadly, because they're, let's say, a bit more delicate if you compare it to two-finger sloths, keeping them in captivity can be very complicated. You'll see that in most zoos in the world, they only have two-finger sloths, sometimes not even the species we have. We have Hoffman's two-finger sloth. They tend to have Linnell's two-finger sloth. Three-finger sloths quite often die in captivity. So it's important, guys, if you see online people holding two-finger sloths for a selfie as they're traveling in South America, that is an extremely bad practice. No one should be holding sloths. No one should be petting them. As cute as they look, we don't do that. We don't pet our sloths. We want them to remain wild and aggressive so they can return back into the wild. But sadly, because they are so popular, this is the sloth that has a little mask on their face. In South America, and it has happened in Costa Rica, people take baby sloths away from their mothers to charge per selfies to tourists. So guys, never give like to a picture of someone holding a wild animal, especially a baby. That means that baby was probably taken away from their mothers. And even if it wasn't, even if it was raised in captivity, sloths and many wild animals, especially babies, will get stressed from that excessive contact.
I'm so glad you highlighted this, Steph. This is something that we like to feature in every broadcast with you guys, and it's something that every kid can do, whether you're traveling yourself or whether you're just on social media, choosing what you like, sort of being more diligent about that and making sure you're not sharing those sort of pictures can go a really long way to helping protect wildlife. So, Steph, this has been an amazing journey. We met Leanna, the most energetic sloth of all time. And we're going to dive into the questions now. YouTube classes, please feel free to share your questions. We've got a few already coming in, which is spectacular. I'm going to go to our live classes first. We've got about 15 minutes for a Q&A together. So, Abbott West, 4B, Miss Michael's class, come on in to kick us off in Glenview, Illinois. Welcome in.
Aisha has a question.
Go ahead, guys.
Go ahead. So where so she can see you.
Do sloths talk?
Ooh, do they
Do
talk?
sloths talk?
Yeah.
Great question. So no, guys, sloths do not talk, and they're actually a lot more silent than many other animals. Quite often, they don't even make noises, not even to communicate with each other, even in reproductive time. In the case of two-finger sloths, they actually rely heavily on pheromones to be able to communicate. For a female to communicate where her whereabouts are, she's going to rely more on pheromones and actually making sounds. Two-finger sloths actually do emit a sort of high-pitched sound. Females, they do it when they're in heat. But besides that, and maybe like doing this like growly sound, and babies who do emit a sort of noise, sloths are very silent animals.
Great question, guys. Miss Thorpe, I would love to come to you 2-3s if you want to unmute your mic, turn on camera, make sure everything's working. But I'll head to Miss Joyce's class joining us in Toronto. Welcome in, Danforth. And if you have a question, come on in. Hey. Hey, Miss Joyce. Oh, we can come back if you guys have a question in a minute. We're getting a whole bunch on YouTube as well. Oh, no questions?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, folks.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Do you have a question regarding sloth?
Let's see.
How many babies have you had this year?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How many babies at the Toucan Rescue Ranch this year?
Ooh.
Great question.
Oh, wow. That is a hard question. How many babies in total this year is something that I do not know, guys. And the reason is that there is a lot of turnaround. I mean, if I had to give like a ballpark number, ouch, I would say what, maybe like 50, maybe more, 60. But quite frankly, I'm really like guessing. Let me ask one of the nurses to see what her opinion is. I'm not sure that she knows either. And let me tell you, sadly, part of the reason, guys, is that when we get such tiny, tiny babies, like 50, we have like a 50-50 chance of being able to successfully rear a baby like Gonzo. Because many of these babies actually come here sick. Many were abandoned by their mothers because they had a heart condition or a lung condition or some other problem that would make their mothers to abandon them because they know that no matter what, those babies are not going to survive.
Yep.
Let me ask Giselle real quick.
Please.
Gis, me preguntan como cuántos bebés hemos recibido este año. ¿Vos tenés alguna idea?
Este año. ¿Cuál?
Si digo 50, 60, mucho, mucho. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she thinks it's more like 30, 40 babies.
Wow. But still, it's an incredible amount. It's way more than I would have thought. So great
Yeah.
question, Miss Joyce's class.
Yeah.
We're going to head to Miss Thorpe's class. St. Isidore, thanks for sharing the question in the chat. YouTubers, I'm coming to you guys in a second. And Miss Michael's class, I'm coming back, I promise. Miss Thorpe, come on in, 2-3s. Welcome in. Hey. Hello, ceiling.
Our camera.
Don't worry about the
There
camera.
we go.
Hey. Oh, I think you froze. Do you have any questions for us? If you're still there.
Jojo. I'm not even sure what happened here. Jojo, ask your question.
Okay. Do you
Oh. We can come back in a sec, guys, if you're having trouble with the tech. Yeah, I'll do that. St. Isidore School from Leah wants to know, why are sloths so slow? The classic question, Steph.
Perfect. I love that question because it's important to understand, guys, that they have this reputation, but sloths can be pretty quick then when they feel threatened. Now, what happens with a sloth and the reason that they seem so sluggish most of the time is that, as you remember, I told you the biggest part of their diet is leaves. So if you ever have a meal of pretty much just like salad, for example, you will experience in your own skin that leaves are a source of food that doesn't bring in a lot of energy. And other animals like cows, ruminants, you know, they have a different digestive system. Sloths also have a chambered stomach, 5 chambers, but they don't have as much bacteria. And their adaptation to survive is not having a super extra efficient digestive system, is not using any energy if they don't need to. So their survival strategy is just being energy efficient in the sense that they're not going to use energy if it's not necessary. And this is actually extremely, let's say, efficient.
Yep.
Because they are one of the most common mammals that you will find in the tropical rainforest. So it's actually a very smart adaptation.
Fantastic. Great question, Leah. Ms. Thorpe's class, I'm sorry you're having tech trouble. I hope you can hear this answer come in. So they wanted to know in the chat, do you ever get hurt by the sloths? You spoke to this a little bit about how you interact with them and if you touch them or not, but have you ever been injured by a sloth? Has anyone there been injured by a sloth?
Well, not me personally, because I'm never going to touch a sloth unless they need help in the clinic holding a sloth. But guys, I have seen a lot of people from interns to vets where, you know, accidents happen, guys, and they can get scratched very badly. If you see some of the arms of some of our vets, well, they do have their their scars very proudly. It's part of the job. It comes with the job description. But when the injuries get really ugly is when they get bitten. So I mentioned how sloths have, two-finger sloths in particular, have these really big fangs, which, by the way, never stop growing, and they're very, very sharp. Well, if someone does get bitten by a sloth, those injuries can get infected very quickly. I once saw the finger of a sloth intern who got very swollen. It was like 3 times the normal size. So if that happens, actually, they need to go to the hospital, because it's not only the severity of the injury, it's the fact that the injury can get very badly infected very quickly because of the bacteria in the mouth of the sloth. So one of the hypotheses I've heard is that sloths don't have very many predators because they try to avoid getting bitten by sloths. Also, there's not a lot of meat, so.
We've got 2 separate classes, Miss Nufalizi's class in Guelph and Miss Polano's class in Toronto. Both want to know why it's called the Toucan Rescue Ranch. Do you have toucans there alongside these sloths?
Hey, that's an excellent question. And yes, the reason that we're called the Toucan Rescue Ranch is because, oh, what are you doing? Sweetie, no. We got another liana in our hands. The reason we are called the Toucan Rescue Ranch is that Leslie, our founder, initially started helping out toucans. So she came to Costa Rica wanting to help out wild animals. She had rescued a lot of parrots back in the US, and she volunteered for a while in a program that rescued and rehabilitated macaws. And that is how she found out that toucans were birds that were in need of a center that could specialize in the care that they need. And that's how she had the idea of starting off the Toucan Rescue Ranch, specializing initially in toucans. We have worked with almost all the species of toucans in Costa Rica, with 5 out of the 6 species that we have in Costa Rica. And of course, we keep specializing in toucans here at the Toucan Rescue Ranch.
Amazing. I would encourage our classes too. If you haven't seen it, check out our YouTube channel. If you type in Toucan Rescue Ranch, you'll see dozens of programs on toucans, owls, their otters, other amazing animals they have there. Sloths might be my personal fave, but there's lots of amazing creatures to discover. We're going to take 3 more questions. Unfortunately, time flies and you're having fun, so I'm going to try and give as many classes as possible chance. Ms. Michael, I will wrap up with you live in a second. I'm going to take the first one that we got shared by Ms. Olson's class. It is spectacular. Oh, where is it hiding on me? They want to know, does it bother the sloths to hang upside down too long because of blood flow to the head? Very cool question.
That is a wonderful question, guys. But it turns out that that is not a problem that sloths have. And that is one of the more complex adaptations that sloths have, and is adaptations in their circulatory system to be able to have an adequate blood flow to all the extremities without getting tired, because it's a constant exertion of force to be hanging, but also also making sure that the blood goes to all the right places. And for example, sloths have an irrigation system, so the veins that go to different extremities in their body, that is a lot more efficient than any other animal, and that is why they actually cannot even accumulate lactic acid. So their circulatory system is completely adapted to allow all of their important organs to get an appropriate blood flow, even if they're hanging. So no, it doesn't bother them at all. However, sloths do sometimes look for a branch to be able to rest their bodies, because hanging can be tiresome. You guys try hanging upside down for just a minute, and you'll see that your arms will get tired. The blood will go will go to your head, but this is not a problem sloths have because of their adaptations.
A lot of creatures that have really unique physiologies have the adaptation of sort of changing how their blood flows in certain ways. Giraffes are a great example, getting up and having to have blood flow all the way up that neck. So we have adaptations to the way that we get up and move around, and so do sloths. They don't have that issue. I love this question, one of my favorite ones we've ever gotten. Let's go to Mr. Ferguson's class on YouTube, and then I'm going to wrap up at Abaca West. Come on in. 4 5s, Aaron, Ontario. What do baby sloths drink in the wild from a shaw?
So in the wild, baby sloths are going to be with their mothers all the time until actually when they're around 6 months, they're going to slowly start venturing farther and farther away from their mothers. So we've had the chance of having mothers with babies. We even had a mom who gave birth to a baby here at the ranch, and we were able to see firsthand you know, a little bit of that process of giving milk to their babies. And sloths actually don't have that much milk. That is the impression that we got, but it's very nutrient and protein rich. So baby sloths are going to have this source of milk from their mothers, and we do not give cow's milk to our babies because that can give them terrible diarrhea. The thing that is more similar to the mom's milk is goat's milk, and we put in Pedialyte to make sure they also have all the electrolytes and that they are well and hydrated, which is very important. But yeah, in the wild, they will exclusively drink their mother's milk.
Fantastic. I hope you can still hear me right now. My computer is refusing me to let me press buttons that I want to press. Oh, there we go. It's back. Ms. Michael's group, Glenview, if you want to wrap us up with one final question, and I will note for all our classes that have way more questions than we could take in one broadcast, toucanrescueranch.org has all the information you ever wanted to know and more, and they're an amazingly responsive team. If you want to follow up, check in, ask any additional questions, Steph and her team will absolutely get back to you. So come on in, Ms. Michael's group, and take us away. Hey,
How do they eat upside down?
Ooh, great question. So sloths also have these adaptations in their esophagus so that the food doesn't return. One of the characteristics that sloths have is that they are not able to vomit, so they don't have the same structures that we have. If you, for example, put something in your throat very deep, you'll have this reflex of throwing up. So sloths don't have that same adaptation that we have, and their esophagus is built in such a way that it doesn't allow for the food to return. We actually have one sloth that has an anatomical problem, an anatomical defect, and her name is Springle, she's constantly regurgitating the food. And that is something that is uncommon, completely uncommon for a sloth. Sloths don't even throw up because of the way that their esophagus and larynx is built.
Thank you so much, Steph. This has been a really special program. If it is our last one doing it together over the school year, it has been an incredible ride, 20 plus broadcasts. Again, toucanrescueranch.org for all our classes that want to check in and find out more. Everything that we've done with you is on our YouTube channel if you want to check it out there. And on their website, you can donate if you want to help them do the amazing work that they do to help preserve sloths and all the other incredible wildlife in Costa Rica. I can't encourage that enough. Steph, the whole Toucan Rescue Ranch team, thank you all so much. And as you know what we do to end every broadcast, I'm going to bring in Miss Thorpe's class, Miss Joyce's class, and Abaca West. If you guys want to join me in saying a big thank you and farewell, have a wonderful day, everybody.